morning. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to show a little video on how to clean reels. It's that time of the year for me. Every winter I go through my rods and my reels and make sure everything's ready to go for the next season. Even though out here in the West, our season kind of starts in December. It's kind of our fall. Winter really doesn't really happen until January, and it only lasts for about a month. So we don't really have a winter. So anyway, I used to be with Bass Pro Shop. I was sponsored by them for about 12 years. So most of my stuff is all Bass Pro Shop stuff. And I do have some reels that are 12, 15 years old and still going strong. So if you take care of your stuff, it'll take care of you. And so I'm going to go through, I'll just do one reel right now. Each reel probably takes me about a half hour to go through. Something you can totally do yourself, is not hard. Takes about, like I said, like a half hour per reel. So I might get through my 15, 20 reels that I use a year in about a day and a half, if I can sit down and get through it without any interruptions. So let me go through a few of the things that I do use. One thing I do use is some brake clean. It's non-chlorinated stuff. This is what I use to clean my bearings with. I use this, it's called a bearing blaster. It's pretty cool, man. You put your bearing in there, I'll show you how that works. And then you shoot the brake clean through there, and it actually cleans the bearings really well. And we'll go through that too. Just some regular old alcohol. I use that just basically to spray down the entire reel, clean that up real good. Alcohol is a great water displacer, so if you ever had water go through your reel at any time. We just got done with a tournament at Lake Powell and got dumped on pretty good there in August, and we went through some thunderstorms, so I know I got some water going through some of my reels, so I want to make sure I get in there and don't have any rust or anything like that. We live in a dry climate, so we don't really have to worry too much about rust. If you don't have an air compressor, which I do, I have a little air compressor that works really well. But if you don't, these little air duster things, these are awesome. Expensive though, and you'll go through a couple of cans if you're doing quite a few reels. So if you have a little air compressor, turn it down because you want to blow some stuff out, and we'll go through that too. Get yourself a good handful of Q-tips. You're going to want to use that to clean the tight spots. I use a lot of these picking tools. Harbor Freight is one of my favorite places to get stuff like this, super cheap. And then of course you're going to need like a little screwdriver to take stuff apart. Sometimes your reels come with tools that take apart this little nut on the handle. But if you don't have that, then a little socket like that works really well. It's actually a lot faster too. You can use these little micro things if you need them. Don't usually use those very often, but sometimes you have to get into tight spots. It works really well. My lube I use Super Lube. This stuff is outstanding. It's a synthetic oil. They also make a grease, and it comes in a big tube. I don't know anybody that'll go through that whole thing. So what I do is take a little bit of that out, stick it in a small little jar like that, and this thing will last me probably the rest of my life, because I just use a little pick tool like that and use a little bit of grease in some spots. I don't use a lot of grease in my reels. You want to use that synthetic lube instead. That's the best thing for it. So that's pretty much it. I get these little jars that's got some alcohol in it that I'm going to dip my Q-tips in. These little glass jars, Hobby Lobby. I don't know if you have a Hobby Lobby. If you don't, Michael's, Joann's, anything that you can go in the paint section, get little paint cups. Those things are fantastic to use, but I like the glass. It doesn't deteriorate or anything like that. And I also got these little droppers that I took the Super Lube stuff, and I put it in a little bottle like this with it's got a metal tip, and this works awesome for lubing up little small joints and stuff like that. So again, my pieces parts are super cheap. You want to get some paper towel. I love using the Blue Shop towels, but I also use some cheap white paper towel as well for cleaning some other stuff up too. But these things are a lot more absorbent and they work a lot better, and I use it on my desk when I put my reel down and stuff like that. All right, so give me a second. I'm gonna readjust my camera, and then we'll get into tearing one of these things down. Okay, I didn't want to bore you with taking the handle off, so I got the handle off right here. I like to lay my parts out in kind of like the order I took it off. So I'm gonna show you when I take the star drag off. I'm just gonna back that thing out. I'm gonna lay my drag out in the exact same order I took it off. Just kind of stack it like that. And then there's a bushing right inside here. You can just kind of pull that thing out right there. And that comes out too. Take your tension knob off, because we're going to take that bearing out. We're going to clean that. Okay, so how to get the spool out. Sometimes it's a push button over here and turn, but this is just a pull out. I'm going to pull that out, turn it, that comes off, and then your spool comes out. Okay, so we're good there. So what I like to do now is I'll take my alcohol and I'm going to spray this whole thing down. I'm going to do that over a little garbage can. I'm just going to let that sit there like that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you how to take this bearing out right here. All right, so some people get really scared taking this little retainer clip out, but it's not too bad. What you want to do is you want to stick your finger on one side of it, hold it down, take your pick tool, pull the other side out, and just kind of make sure you hold on to it, otherwise it'll shoot across the room. And then that's it. Take that out, turn that over, give it a tap, and that thing comes right out. Okay, there's a little cardboard washer in there as well. Take that out. It's got some oil on it because we want to re-oil that thing. I'm not going to put any solvent on that, just going to wipe it off. Leave that there, and this is where the blaster comes into play. So we take our bearing, you just stick it right on top of that blaster, take your cap, put that right on, and then you stick that right in there, do it over a garbage can. Okay, that's it. And it really shoots out quite a bit of garbage. Can't really see it, but gets that thing nice and clean. Now, next cool thing what you want to do with your air is I take my little pick and I stick my bearing on top of there. I'll show you with the duster, but you can take your duster and you can hear that bearing just take off, and that really dries it out really good. You can flip it over. You can still hear it jamming. It's pretty good. All right, so that's kind of dries it out while you're still working on this. I use my compressor just because it's a lot cheaper. But now I start taking my Q-tips. I'm going to dip it in my alcohol. I'm just going to get in here and clean this up real good. So one side's wet, other side's dry. We'll dry that up real good. And you can see it's not too bad. Get it around in here. And this shouldn't be too dirty. Now, I know if you live in somewhere where it's like brackish water or really dirty, like I went to Clear Lake one time in the summer when that green algae or whatever algae that stuff is, man, I had to clean my reels as soon as I got home. So that stuff was super, super nasty. All my stuff was like gnarly green, and I had to clean that up when I got home. So, but like I said, I'm super particular about my stuff, but again, my stuff lasts forever, and that's why I like it. So that's it. You do that, put your washer back in. It's got a little tip right there, and you find that little notch, And it goes right back in. Take your pick tool, get it in there where it's supposed to go, and it should fall right into place. Just like that. You're gonna take a little drop of oil, just one drop, that's it, that's all you need. Take your washer, you're gonna put it right back in there, and then just reverse it. So you're gonna take your clip, kind of get it started, hold your finger in there, take your little pick, push it back down in there, so it falls in. That's it. Not hard at all. But you gotta keep your finger on there because these things will shoot across the room. We'll take one drop there, and that's it. Do not over oil your bearings. You do that, they just start getting gummed up, and it's just, that's no bueno. All right, so now I'm just gonna kind of go through my, well, let me go to this one first. This one's kind of hard. So this is the spool bearing. You kind of need a special tool for this. So there's a retainer pin right here, and they make this pair of pliers with this. This was I don't even know where I got them. It says Lead Master on it, and it was a split ring plier, but it had this punch on there, and you find the skinny end of it, and you put it around. You're gonna go skinny to fat, and you just, that little clip, take a punch, push the pin through, and then that bearing slides off. Okay, and we're just gonna do the same thing. Into the blaster. There. Over the garbage can. You only need to spray it for about like 5 seconds. You don't want to get too crazy. You got enough there. And dry that up. And you can see brake cleaner dries pretty fast. That's why I like using it. You can use electrical parts cleaner stuff. It's like twice as much though. This stuff's like $6-7 a can. All right, so there's that. We'll do the drying thing. I'm gonna use my compressor for this one though. That's nice and dry. Take a Q-tip. I'm gonna get in here and clean this up real good. And again, it's pretty clean, so. And I haven't cleaned these since last year, so that's pretty good. Now, so here's my dual braking system on Bass Pro reels. That most of the Bass Pro reels have it. It's called DBS, dual braking system. So these are the centrifugal brakes inside. So what I like to do is I only put 2 on. So I'm gonna turn the ones that I've had on all year, I'm gonna turn those 2 off by clipping it in and just pick 2 others opposite each other and turn those on. They get kind of worn out over time. So I just kind of like rotate them throughout the years, and you're okay with doing that. So that's nice and dry. Put that back on. Take your pin. Now you kind of have to find the hole there's one size that's like bigger than the other. And it looks like that's the big end. So I'm gonna go that way with it. And just reverse it. And you don't want to push too hard because you kind of want it like totally even on both sides, because it has to fit into that. Looks pretty good. Has to fit into those. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some teeth in there. Has to fit in the teeth of those gears in there, and that's what makes it turn. And if you go too far, it won't turn very well. So then you got to play with it when you're done. Okay, so it's the same thing with this bearing here. You're going to use the tool to pop that thing out, clean it, and so forth. So now I'm just gonna go through and really clean this thing up, and we're gonna put it back together, and that's it. So that's all you wanna do. You just wanna take your time with some Q-tips, go through here and clean it real well. And that's probably the majority of the time spent doing that, so I'm not gonna bore you with that. So go ahead and stop the video and we'll talk about putting this thing back together. Okay, we're ready to reassemble. I pulled that bearing out, put a couple drops of oil on it, cleaned everything up. So these are the Q-tips I use to clean. As you can see, they're pretty disgusting. 90% of that comes from the worm gear area. So all this stuff up and around here gets really bad. So you want to take your time and clean a lot of that up. All right, so toss those, and we're just going to kind of work back in reverse area. So I'm going to take a couple of drops of oil, one on each side of this shaft. Again, not a lot. More is not definitely better, that's for sure. So we're just going to slide that bushing back on. That's it. And then we're just going to work our washers back exactly how they went on the first time. So we're going to put that one on. This one goes back over the top. Just kind of wipe it off a little bit. Okay, and I am just going to put a drop of oil there and a drop of oil there. Wipe out with my fingers. That on. That on. And then that on. Okay. All right. I'm going to clean that out a little bit. There's another cardboard washer in there, so we're just going to put a drop of oil on there. That's where the end of this touches, so we want to keep that lubed. Put that on. Looks pretty good. Keep your finger on the level wind and get that back on there. Don't tighten it down too much. Now we're going to stick this back on to see if that turns okay. Yep, feels good. Put other side plate back on. That clicks in. Boy, that sounds pretty good. Cool. All right, so now we're just going to kind of wipe down our worm gear a little bit. You don't want to get too crazy, because if you get some of that paper towel in there, it's no bueno. Just a little bit. Both sides. And then we're just going to put a drop on one side, bring it over on the other side. Put one more drop in there. That's it. So we'll put our handle back on and tighten this thing down, see what happens. Hearing a little bit of a noise. I don't know if that's from that pin we were talking about. Get this cinched down, we'll find out. Okay, see, it's not moving very well. Should be a lot freer than that. And I hear a little bit of a clicking. It's actually starting to smooth out a little bit more now. Ooh, now it's not. Let's get that going again. I think everything just settled in now. No, she's nice and smooth. Yeah, see how that's gotten really tight like that? We need to back that out. Alright, so looks like I need to push that a little bit more out that way. I mean, just a hair. Didn't take much. Let's see what that did. Yeah, now we're jamming. Now you can hear it. Sounds pretty good. So if you hear that sound, that's that pin that is not set right or even in that gear, and just you need to just kind of move it in and out. So, all right, cool. That's it. Piece of cake. You're ready to go. All right, good for another year. Hope that helped out, and for pennies on the dollar right there, you can clean your own reels. You don't have to send them off and get charged like 20, 30, 40 bucks per reel. You can do that in a matter of 20, 30 minutes, and you're good to go. All right, hope that helped, guys.